Oh man, I love this song. Every time I hear it, I can remember where I was and who I was with. It reminds me of the time. Does this sound familiar? Music is like a scent. It can instantly transport you to another time and place. I ask my guests to dish about their song with the memories that go with it. I'm your host, Tiffany Mason. I have a passion for music and a curiosity about how a song affects someone and why. Turn up your radio and let's explore Memories with a Beat. Hello, Podcast Land. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Memories with a Beat. And today we're talking the one, the only Dolly Parton. I have today with me a guest, Lisa Woodruff. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about this song. I can see a lot of similarities between you and Miss Parton. So if you want, yes, go ahead and dive into what is your song, who sings it, and you can just roll right into how you connect to it.
Sure. Okay. So the song is Dolly Parton, 9 to 5. And I had a live event for 5 years in a row, and now it's on replay called Embrace, where I kind of walked women through how we have come to the roles that we play inside of our house, the many, many roles that we play in our house. And one of the things I do in my company, Organized 365, is I like to make visible the invisible work that we're doing, the invisible goals, aspirations, the invisible negative self-talk that we have. And so in the 5th year of doing Embrace, I kicked it off with 9 to 5. And the music that goes along with Embrace is very impactful. So if you never do the Embrace experience, you have to imagine it was done as a live event. And I wore costumes the last time I did it. And I tried to make pictures of what we are, like how we show up, specifically as women in our households throughout our lifetime. And so my grandson, who lives with me, was 10 months old at the time. And my daughter opens the door to where I'm getting ready to see me in this costume. And the baby looks me in the eye, looks all the way down, looks all the way up again at me, as in, like, what is this horrid thing you're wearing? Realizes it's me, and then puts his arms out for me to hold him. And I was wearing an old-fashioned maid costume, like to the floor, like imagine Amish maid. And I come out to the Embrace event, which is like a female, not empowerment, but kind of like, let's take charge of our lives. Let's really focus on what we're uniquely created to do. And I came out to the Dolly Parton song in a maid costume because when I first watched the movie 9 to 5, which came out in the 80s, which I loved, I wanted to be a corporate woman. Like, I was in high school. I wanted to be a corporate woman. I wanted to wear a suit. I wanted to work 9 to 5, but also I wanted to be a wife and a mother. And like in my brain, I couldn't figure those two out. And so my sister got a business degree and she did work a 9 to 5 job. And I got a teaching degree and I ended up being a stay-at-home mom for a while. And so this idea of 9 to 5, which I'm sure we'll unpack a couple of different ways, really plays out in this song for me, in that we are always working 9 to 5 and then some. But often we find ourselves working in different non-paid ways 9 to 5 in order to do other things in our off hours. But yeah, coming out in the maid costume, the baby even knew. He was like, okay, this isn't right. You shouldn't be wearing this. Like, why are you dressed up like a maid? But really, we all are kind of the maid.
This is true. This is true. Okay, so this is, like you said, it came out in 1980. It came out as a song. It came out as a movie, both in 1980, and later was remastered as a TV series.
Didn't know.
And a Broadway show. Yeah, the TV series ran for like 5 years. I know, I didn't know that either. So I guess we have some homework to do. I know that you do a little bit of TV watching, so maybe we'll have to pull it up and see where that lives now in history. So this song is on the B side of the album, Sing for the Common Man. And Dolly, I mean, you guys know she's a country music legend. She's been around for over 50 years. She kind of reached her peak in like the 80s, but she's still very relevant. She composed over 3,000 songs. She's sold over 100 million records worldwide. And what I was appreciating so much as I was reading everything about Dolly is all of the multi-empires. And Lisa, from listening to your podcast, I know that you have many different empires that you are working on, and you're extremely ambitious, just like Dolly. And so I thought that was great. And I love that you are referencing the Embrace event that you do, because I had here in my notes that in the song, part of the words are spend your time putting money in his wallet. And lots of times in the entrepreneurial space, and I know you've done some masterminds, they talk about how you should be an entrepreneur so that you can build your own dreams and work on your own dreams and put money in your wallet. And that makes me think of the embrace and being an entrepreneur and what are we really created to do. And I love that that's really a mission that you've been exploring a lot lately, or developing more. And now that your company is kind of, I would never say on autopilot, because we all know that you have a lot of pink folders or slash pockets. But that's what I put in here, is that it's helping us to work on our dreams and those pink slash pockets. So I think empowering is the right word, because you offer your listeners a lot of grace and explanation and empowerment. And that's what you're doing with the Embrace conference too. So I don't think you're off by saying empowerment.
Okay, good. Well, the other thing that is interesting about Dolly, or like if you watch her documentary now, or you just watch her, she's just so authentic. Like she's
Mm.
just her, and she has like you get what you get. Like she's not pretending to be someone else. And like if you watch her documentary, she's like, "Yeah, I have wigs because I don't want to do my hair, and I like pretty things, and I like this." And she's like, "And I don't pretend that this is, my actual body. Like I have more plastic surgery than whatever." Like she's not pretending. She's like, "This is just how I want to look, and I want to look how I want to look." But she's not doing it because she thinks you should look that way. She's doing it because it's what resonates with her. And I think that her success, I don't think she was ever went out to try to be successful. She was successful because she was always working on herself and how she could bring a smile to someone else's face, or how she could take something that she was seeing in everyday life and bring it to life so other people could see it and talk about it and possibly change it if they wanted to change it or not. But just that lived experience, like, in the 80s, if you wanted to earn money, you had to go work a 9 to 5. And if you were a woman, you had to work a 9 to 5 in a man's world. Like that's just how it was. What I've realized as a woman is we work 365, 24 hours a day, 365. Like we are never not working.
Yeah.
If we could only work 9 to 5.
But it's true. We're never not working. The women are always in the back of our mind. We're always trying to keep that schedule together. And I think that's what's so impactful about your podcast is that, sorry if I haven't mentioned it for everybody who's listening, Lisa has a podcast called Organized 365. But it just a lot of explanation on how to get your life organized, how to get everything organized. I mean, you guys, this is not just like, a weekend workshop. She's very realistic about it. You speaking about liking how authentic Dolly is. I mean, Lisa is very vulnerable on her podcast, sharing that she's not a perfect person. She hasn't always had it together. And she's really shared this full journey. So, like the first 2 episodes, you're going to think, like, this lady has got to be lying. There's no way she does all this. But listen to a couple more episodes. And you will find out she will share some of the backstory and you'll go, oh, and I know I am a person, people will always say, Tiffany, I really like you because you're authentic, you're down to earth. I can read you like a book. And I think that that's what I appreciate so much about you on the podcast and thinking like, yeah, Lisa's successful now, but that has not always been the story. And you're never afraid to share some of that. So I really appreciate the vulnerability and the authenticity that you offer your listeners on that podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm. Yes, very much. Okay, so let's talk about this song a little bit. When did you first hear it? Because I only really know Dolly Parton from like Christmas specials. So in the 80s, that's when I
Ah,
was in my younger years, right? Like that's when I was growing up. So that's how I know her is Christmas specials with Kenny Rogers. And, I don't know, my parents were really big into country. So that's what I know about Dolly. How were you exposed to the song? Or, when did you first grow that true appreciation for 9 to 5?
so it really was that 80s movie. I have not watched any of the Dolly Parton specials. I just watched her documentary a year or two ago because my sister said to. My sister's into country. I'm not a country girl. I also won a trip for Creative Memories, we would win trips. I was in a direct sales company, and we won one to Nashville, and we got to go to Opryland.
Mhm.
And so I heard about her there, obviously didn't meet her. So it really was that movie 9 to 5 in the 80s. So I'm 51 years old. So when that movie came out, I would have been like, oh, not even 10, I guess. So I probably watched it a little bit later. Here's the thing about 80s movies. They're awesome. Also completely politically incorrect when you watch them in today's landscape.
Oh,
I'm always like,
yes.
go watch this movie. And then I watch it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were allowed to watch that. So anyways, 9 to 5, Baby Boom, Mr. Mom.
Do you know that Baby Boom? I have it on DVD because it's my all-time favoriteest
Oh my gosh,
movie.
such a great movie. Mr. Mom, though, I mean, come on. So I play the Rocky theme also in Embrace.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's all women at the Embrace conference. I'm like, now if men hear this, they're like, yes, we're going to run upstairs. I'm like, but I play the song and then I play the clip from the movie Mr. Mom of where he embraces that he is now the Mr. Mom, and he's going to actually take the house back and take the vacuum cleaner and get rid of the whoopee and the whole thing. And so those movies in my formative childhood years, I did not have a normal childhood. I had a really awesome childhood. You know, people are always like, I came from nothing and it was horrible. Like, no, I had a great childhood. I don't think my parents had a lot of money when I was younger, but I didn't really notice. They did have money by the time I was in high school, for sure. They ended up having quite a bit of money at that point. But I came from a very entrepreneurial family on both sides. So my mom, her mom, and her mom all own their own businesses. So I'm a fourth generation female college graduate. And yet all of them have home economic degrees. So my great grandmother got a teaching degree, and then my grandmother got home economics, and then my mom got an art teaching degree, and then I actually got a home economics degree. It was early childhood education, but it was in the home economics school. There's a book about the secret history of home economics, which is amazing. I've listened to it twice. And so when my great grandmother went to college, you could only get a teaching degree. That was the only college degree available at the time. And then the same college, that same degree became home economics for my grandmother. They both went to Kent State in the Akron area, Akron-Cleveland area. And my mom went to Purdue and I went to Miami University. So to be a fourth generation female college graduate is very unusual, extremely unusual.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Yep.
none of these women ever worked for anybody. They always owned their own businesses, also extremely unusual. So my great grandmother never taught, even though she had a teaching degree. She owned a floral shop. She owned a restaurant. She divorced her husband. I mean, like, the woman was basically, I guess, what you call a feminist today. My grandmother, she started a mail order business out of her basement because this would have been in the 60s, early 60s, I guess. I'm going to do the math, late 50s, early 60s. They had two businesses they started out of the basement. One was a mail order for fabric for sewing. So if you wanted to make something, she would sew you the thread and everything you needed in order to make it through the mail. Again, very
cool,
industrious.
like a kit.
Yes. And the other thing they did was they processed student loans because student loans were not public at that time. And so my grandfather was an accountant, and somehow they set up some side business where they processed student loans. And then my mother, when I was in second grade, she started basically her own direct sales company and sold it when I was in eighth grade. Started with 2 states and ended up with 26 states worth of people. Like, who in our basement? So like, this is my normal is like you climb around clothes and you fill out UPS books and the UPS guy comes and you know what weather it is, whether he's wearing pants or shorts. And like, this was my childhood and I got to play business all the time. And my dad's family, my dad did not finish his college degree. His father did, but they were all business owners and they were all salesmen. And they all owned their businesses. So, I mean, playing business as a business owner was like my thing. So I'm watching 9 to 5 and I want to go get a business degree and I want to wear a suit and I want to work in New York because I also liked the movie, The Secret of My Success. And so I wanted to go and I wanted to work in corporate America. But I'm just not a corporate America person. Like I'm such like, I love kids so much. Like if I could have taken kids with me to be in corporate America. So I watched 9 to 5 only once. I watched it multiple times. But the idea of getting up and getting ready and taking your shower and going into an office to be paid for your time and to be able to be in an office environment, even though they were trying to poison the guy the whole time, and it was horrible for them, but I love it. Oh, what's the other one? Working Girl. That's another 80s movie.
Yes, Melanie Griffith.
Yes, getting dressed up, going into the city, again, basically running the whole show. Just in all of these movies that came out right in that same time frame in the early 80s really helped to expose what we were thinking inside of our heads as little girls and as women about where is our place in the working world and what does it look like to work. And so for me, I've been working 9 to 5 in my household, being the stay-at-home mom, being the wife, being the mother. And then as soon as Greg gets home from work, then I'm flipping into, everything that built the foundation of what Organized 365 has become. I didn't actually start coming into the office in a company that I've run for 11 years until 2 years ago.
Yeah, you sharing that information has really given me some clarity in virtually you where I want to be. And I'm like, well, okay, I don't have to have offices yet because Lisa didn't
Mhm.
have offices yet. And okay, I can have contractors because Lisa had contractors for a while. So it's okay if I start with
Yeah.
contractors and then if I move up. And I mean, we all are watching some form of an example.
Yes.
And so I know that that's kind of like accidentally how it's become, for me listening to the podcast where I'm like, oh, okay, so this could happen and that could happen. Just listening to what you're saying that your process was, but also going back to the vision or whatever. And the movies that you're bringing up are the same ones that stick in my mind. And it gave me the same thing where I was going to wear this power suit and I was going to be
Yes.
downtown, walking between the buildings on the
Yes.
skyscraper, never taking a lunch break.
Yes. So by the time I started working in the office 9 to 5, we were already in our second office. We have a warehouse. There were employees here that were coming every day, but I was not coming every day. Do you know why I was not coming to the office when my children were grown? Because I was the one
No?
letting the dog out at lunchtime. I'm like,
Oh,
yes.
right.
So the only reason I started working in the office, it was after COVID. Everybody got locked down at home. I do remember during COVID, I could go to my office because I like owned it. So I could like leave the house and go to work. Like, what are you going to do? Like, there's nobody there. It's like a secondary
Nope.
house. So then we ended up at home and we quarantined for some reason. And then there was some fluke at my husband's office and they sent him home for 2 more weeks. No one in our family had COVID. No one was even exposed to COVID. But for whatever reason, he got locked down at home for some reason. I can't remember what it was. And it was like the second day of that lockdown, I was like, I can't believe I'm in this situation again, on and on and on. And I thought, Lisa, you have an office with a computer at a like, and there are people working there for you. Like, you can go work there. And guess what? He can let the dog out while you're gone. And I was like, game on. So I came in that day, it was a January, and I now work in an office. But I needed, and I don't know why I needed this. I don't know if it's bad or good. It's just I did need this. Because I had always worked from home and I could work from home, I did, which made it really easy on my family. And when I decided to work from the office, even though it's the same job for the same pay, it felt different to me. It definitely felt different to my husband. He did not like that. He wanted me back at home. And I was like, for how long do I have to work at home? Like, once you're more than a decade into a business that is now listed in one of the top businesses in the city, do
Yeah.
you still need to do it from your bedroom? No. And so, because now I work in the office, I'm not available for things that happen at home. And sometimes my husband leaves work and sometimes I leave work, but now we share that load. And so I'm no longer the default house parent.
Mhm.
I am also a working member of our marriage. And so it gave more respect and legitimacy to my job for my husband, but also for me, it allowed me to put up better boundaries and stop saying yes to everything that wasn't urgent and important, so I could put my time and effort into what I'm uniquely created to do, which is build this company for the benefit of our audience and for my employees.
I think that's an important role for every entrepreneur to learn, and especially if you're doing something from home. So, yeah, valuable lesson there. You speaking about that you were watching your sister Emily go into this 9 to 5 job, it makes me think of one of the lyrics there too was
Yeah.
I can't think of how the line goes, but the water's hitting her in the shower and it gets her heart pumping. And I can imagine you because I've, mini episodes, Lisa will
Yes.
explain her Sunday routine and how she picks out her outfits. And so I know that her outfits are already laid out in the closet every day of the week. So I'm sure she's taking a shower and she's getting ready and she's thinking, what that work day is going to look like at work. And I know she's already got it planned because you guys, there's this awesome thing called the Friday work box. And if you don't know what any of this terminology is, you guys are going to have to listen to the podcast because lots of good information for you to get yourself organized and going in a direction where you don't feel like everything is complete chaos. I think that's probably the best thing that you offer out of all the lessons that you share with all your listeners is just how to tame the chaos. And I think that that's what you talk about with the invisible work and, how to color code it and what that looks like in the Sunday basket and in the Friday work box.
So that shower one, it says jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping out on the streets and traffic starts jumping. Folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. So I love that because when I was a stay-at-home mom, which I loved, and I always felt like if I liked working 9 to 5 away from the house, that meant that my years as a stay-at-home mom weren't as valuable or weren't as worthy. You know what I mean? And what I found now that I'm 51 and I hope to live to 100. Oh my gosh, you guys, we have so many years. You can do hashtag all the things. So don't worry about it. But I loved being a stay-at-home mom. And at the end of the day, no matter how hard the day was, my husband would always take the kids no matter what, and I could have my hot bath. So when I was a stay-at-home mom, I always got my hot bath. And I don't know when it was I started to take a shower in the morning. Definitely wasn't when I was teaching. So it's been in the last decade. I never took showers in the morning. If you take a bath at night, you're still clean in the morning, people. Like, I don't know what you're doing at night, but I'm still clean. So I would just get up, I get dressed, I get going. But I shower now in the morning. So I'm ridiculously clean. Like every 12 hours, I'm clean. But part of that shower, get in the shower and blood starts pumping. Having a morning routine when you're not working at home, that becomes more important because you can't just go grab one more thing. You need to remember it when you get out the door. And so one of the things that I have noticed for myself personally is that this evening routine and morning routine anchor your day in the beginning and the end. And it's the only part of the day that truly is just for you. Like you literally can't take that call in the shower unless, shout out to another 80s, possibly early 90s movie, which was Three Men and a Little Lady. 3 Men and a Baby. 3 Men and a Baby. They
Oh,
installed the
yeah.
shower, the phone in the shower because they missed the call. Anyways, stick with me for all the 80s references of movies. We had 6 people on staff under the age of 20 last year. It was horrible. They didn't know any of my references. Then they
Oh,
started watching the movies. That's when I
yeah.
realized they're no longer appropriate. Anyways, nobody can get to you when you're in the shower. And my husband won't let anyone get to me when I'm in the bath. So those times of day are truly for me. And I take like a 30, 40-minute bath. So I process my day. I think through it. I think about the next day in the shower in the morning. I'm like, okay, today I had a bunch of interviews. Who am I interviewing with? What am I going to say? What are my ideas? When I'm going to do podcasts? What are the podcast flows going to be? So I love that time for yourself. And then building out a morning routine and an evening routine, whether you take double the bath and shower that I do or not, like how do you want to end your day and how do you want to start your day? You are in control of that. And so you can do that. I do very few things. Also, going to tattletale on myself. I think 3 times in my life I've had all of my outfits for the week actually planned
Oh.
out for the week. Now, I tell you, that's the ideal. If I get planned what I'm wearing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I consider this a really good start. But usually Thursday and Friday, I don't know. Occasionally I know the whole week. And then often I have those in there as options. And I kind of am a contrarian. So I'll be like, yeah, you think I'm wearing you on Tuesday? Nope, I'm wearing Wednesday today. So there you go. But at least I have picked out like pants that are clean and shirts that are ironed. I've got a jacket because I always wear a jacket. So I at least have all the pieces ready to go. There is no such thing as perfect. If you are trying to find the perfect solution, so that you won't have to do things or redo things. Like it's never going to happen. So I've replaced the word perfection with excellence. I'm a person of excellence. I strive to do better every day. I work towards better checklists and better systems and better routines so that I have more time to do what I'm uniquely created to do, which right now is get a PhD so that the research that we're doing in Organize 365 can be disseminated inside of academia and really make a difference in the world. I would much rather do that than, I don't know, color code file folders or something.
What?
What? I know. Well, I don't have file folders. I have slash buckets. But you know what I mean? Like there are things that we do that are hobby work that make us feel like we're moving the needle, but really we're not at all. And at the end of the day, nobody's in your house. No one was in your house before COVID, and nobody's coming back now. So you're only cleaning and organizing for yourself. So get it as good as you need it to be so that you have enough mental clarity to do what you're uniquely created to do. And sometimes we keep working on those systems and our housework because we're afraid to do what we're uniquely created to do. What if we fail?
Mhm.
Oh, what if we
Yeah.
succeed? Who said
Mm.
that? Was that Marianne Williamson? We are more afraid of succeeding than we are of failure. And
Oh,
so
yeah,
we
for sure.
often hide ourselves in busyness in order to not have to try.
Yes, and I love that you always say, nobody's coming into your house to judge you. Nobody's gonna check through your closet. They're not gonna check your silverware drawer. Like, nobody really gives a crap. They just are doing their own thing.
Yes.
So just take care of it to your standards and move on.
Move on. Move on.
I mean, when was the last time you went to your friend's house and checked the silverware drawer?
Never.
How about never?
Yeah. And I think, when we're talking about women and their role and all these different roles that we play, I guess I wanted to be able to do them all simultaneously. And we do a lot simultaneously. You get to be the maid the whole entire time. Don't worry, that job isn't going away.
Yeah, yeah,
So you get to be the
yeah.
maid, the mom,
Mhm.
the wife, the whatever. So I wanted to be able to be the stay-at-home mom and be the corporate working person. And the world wasn't really set up well for me to do that at that time. I do see how it's a little bit easier to do it nowadays. But now what I see is that women continually reinvent themselves throughout their lives.
Mm.
And we have the ability and the drive to do so. So I'm 51, so I know a lot of other 51-year-olds. And I'll go out to breakfast with them or lunch or whatever. And we're making so many plans. Our plans have plans. We have 10-year plans, 20-year plans. We have plans if those plans work, plans if those plans fail, plans we're going to do with each other, plans we're going to do by ourselves. And so we just, and I said, how long do you plan on working? They're like, all of it, like until I die. But we all have said 80. Like, we're going to work till 80. I'm like, yep, yep, yep. Martha Stewart just turned 81. Last year I was saying this. Martha Stewart's 80. I'm 50. I've got 30 more years. So I'm looking at her as like, okay, this is how far I can go. Dolly Parton. I don't know how old she is. She's not 50. She's still working. All these women are still working. And then we get to our spouses and they are in their 50s, early 60s. And they're like, we're out. And we're like, where are you going? And they're like, we're done. Done with what? Working. What are you going to do? They're like, relax. First of all, obviously none of us know how to relax. But secondly, we're like, for how long? They're like, for the rest of the time. I'm like, 50 years? Like, if you retire at 50, are you going to, how long are you going to live? They're like, 3 more years. But if you lived 100 and you retire at 60, that's 40 years of relaxing. That's way too much relaxing for me. That's too boring. I don't like relaxing. It's too boring. But what I've noticed is women have so many ideas of things they want to do. And if those things work, then there are more things that we want to do. And that the experience in our 20s, 30s, and now my 40s are informing what I'm doing in my 50s. And I know my 60s will be informed by what I do in my 50s. And it's this amalgamation of all these different experiences that continue to grow into what we will be next because we keep changing jobs all the time, because we have so many roles that we play. However, up until this point in time, like for Gen X and baby boomer men, primarily, a lot of them did not job hop. Like, job hopping was a really, really bad thing. Like, if you job hopped, you
Yeah.
had to do, I said, some splaining to do when you went into your interview. Or if you
Yep.
had any time that you were not working, like, then we have more explaining to do of the explaining that we did about
Yep.
why we switched that job. And if you had a couple of jobs on there, like, this is somebody you don't want because they switched jobs too many times.
Mhm.
That's not the society we live in today. It's not my lived experience, but for people 50 and over, that is kind of the established lived experience. And so these men are like, and we're out. We went in, we worked this job we didn't like until X, and then we're out. And I'm like, how do we get the men to realize how fun it is to work? Because as women, we're working from sun up to sundown. I was in the kitchen. Our grandbaby lives with us and our daughter, and like everybody is in the kitchen. So I'm holding the grandbaby and I was finishing cooking. Very rare occurrence, by the way. I was actually cooking. I know. See, even Tiffany, you can't see her, but she stopped. She's like, wait a minute, you don't cook. Exactly. I don't cook. I was cooking and holding the baby, and I was cleaning up something, and I was writing something down. And my daughter, mother of said child, says to me, you're always working. When are you going to stop working? And I said, never. Because if I stop moving, everything falls apart, by the way, because there's a lot of things that we're doing. And I don't have a problem with it. Like, the more I talk to women, like, yes, we are always busy doing things, but everything we're doing, we want to be doing. Like, we want to do the laundry to clothe our family. We want to feed our family. We want to earn the money for our family. We want to plan the fun things for our family. Like, we don't mind doing all of these things. We'd like some help when we ask for it without, any flack. And, a little organization does help us do more without losing sleep at night, but we don't mind working all the time. And the definition of work to date has been working 9 to 5 for money from someone and then escaping that as soon as possible, which is what the whole movie is about. And I'm really trying to change our definition of work. Your life is work, and there's a little bit of leisure. So you should enjoy everything you're doing and bring your best self to everything that you're doing. And women do that. Like, we just naturally do that. So that's another part of the 9 to 5 and just the general idea of work, paid or unpaid.
I love you sharing how much you love to work
Yes.
because my husband loves to work that much. And if you guys can't tell by all of Lisa's multi-passionate projects, she has, I guess we've decided that, yes, you have ADHD, correct? Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Because we
so
went back
yeah,
to childhood. Yes.
so
Okay.
here's the thing. Now I'm getting the PhD, so I'm in stats, which is heavy detail intensive. So based on an ADHD diagnosis, that would make sense why sometimes I miss details, although I'm not really missing any details. And they eliminated my dyslexia diagnosis. There are 600 different types of dyslexia, by the way.
What?
But yet I cannot figure out for the life of me, I cannot hold in my brain the difference between a dependent and an independent variable. Like, I've had to write it on a note card and put it on my monitor, which is like 1+1 in PhD world. Like, once you know that, it's like, okay, and now we'll move on to adding 2+2. And I cannot remember 1+1. Like, it won't stay in my head. Like, I can't get it to stay in there. Or like spelling the word there. I know there's they are, THERE, and then there's THEIR. I want to spell it THIER. THEER. I spell that word every day. And every day I have to sit there and go, keep the in there.
Oh,
THEIR. That's how you spell it correctly. I do it every day. Like, it will not stay in my long-term memory. So all that to say, I did go through an online program to see if I had ADHD, just because I understand ADHD a lot. And I believe, have not been able to do research to support this yet, but I will, that the Sunday basket and the Friday workbox externalize executive functioning, and that is why it works for everyone, ADHD or not. And psychologists, doctors, they've looked at it and they're like, yes, we agree with you, but we do not have any research substantiating that at this time. So one of my team members said, ha ha ha, wouldn't it be great if we could just show that you have ADHD and then we'll show that these systems work? I was like, ha ha, fine. So I took the ADHD test, which said I had ADHD. But I also took an executive functioning test, which said I definitely did not present as someone who had ADHD. And executive functioning and ADHD are not totally related. They can be separate. You can have good executive function and still be diagnosed with ADHD. It's rare. So based on the person who gave me the executive functioning panel, they said, there's no way you have ADHD. I said, great. So I went to a psychologist who has known me for decades. And she said, there's no way you have ADHD. You're way too successful. I was like, are you saying that if you have ADHD, you can't be successful? She's like, but you're not medicated. I'm like, are you saying that if you're not medicated and you have ADHD, you can't be successful? She's like, all right, fine. What do you want me to do? I said, I want you to run every single test you need to run in order to definitively prove if I do or do not have ADHD. She said, I'm going to need to see your childhood report cards. I said, I have everyone. What else do you need? She was like, all right, then.
of course she does. Of course you do.
So I gave her everything. And she gave me the dyslexia test, which I passed, which showed that I did not have dyslexia. And then she looked everything over and she said, you absolutely have ADHD. As a matter of fact, you're a raging ADHD. I was like, raging? And she's like, yes, you qualify in every way you could possibly qualify for ADHD. I was like, oh. She said, but don't take those stimulants because with migraines, that's counter, you can't take them. I was like, okay, well, I wasn't looking for medication anyway. I'm just trying to substantiate if organizational products can actually improve your executive function so that you don't have the negative effects of ADHD and only the positive ones. Because I've always said there are so many positive ones. ADHD people just do not understand there even is a box, let alone what's inside of the box.
Yeah.
They're like, why do we even need a box? How do we have a car? Why don't we
Mhm.
just fly? And so that
Yes.
part of me, I could definitely see could potentially be. I don't know. I don't think we have any clue.
Well, you've definitely given me so much insight into my husband. Oh my gosh. So, like, there have
Mm.
been so many things where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're Lisa. This is Lisa." And do you know that they say that people with
I'd love to meet the male version of me.
Oh, I'm married to him. Yes, I'm married to him. You can come visit anytime. And now I sound so educated when I talk to people about executive function because there was a whole mini series that you did on ADHD. So I understand my husband better. So I appreciate that you're working longer than 9 to 5. Um, and I do want to go back to the song just a little bit. Was there
Mhm.
another time? So you're in your car and you're like, gosh, I just need to listen to 9 to 5,
Yes.
like that, or is it on a playlist? Or also, what made you want to make that part of the embrace?
Yes. So when I was a child, it was I wanted to have a 9 to 5 job. And I probably didn't hear the song again until, the last maybe 10 years growing Organized 365. And
Mhm.
to be clear, Organized 365 is like the 21st company that I started. I've had in 2000, I think it was in 2009, I had 11 Schedule Cs on my tax
Oh
return.
my
You need a Schedule C for each individual entity that you claim that you are making money
god.
in. So that's good. I made money 11 different ways in 2009. That also was, so I was in like 5 direct sales companies. So those are all different. I was cleaning houses. I was, making scrapbooks for people. I was tutoring kids. Like I was just doing hashtag all the things, trying to figure out what it is I was uniquely gifted and created to do. And it wasn't until January of 2012, the year I turned 40, when I quit my job, even though we needed the money because my family needed me at home more than we needed me to have an outside job. And I was sitting there and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how many different things am I going to start? How long am I going to wait before I start my company? Remember, I saw that example of my mother, my grandmother, all owning their own companies, and my father. And I was like, I need to start my own company. So I started Organized 365 as a blog, just with the name Organized 365. And I had no idea what it was going to be. And so then I would hear the song 9 to 5, not very often. But as I look back on the almost 12 years that I've been running Organized 365, there have been 3-year distinct phases of the company. So the first 3 years, I started an in-home organizing business and I had a blog. The next 3 years, I built a team that was doing the in-home organizing and I started the podcast. The next 3 years, I built the physical products that you see. We ended the in-home organizing. I continued to grow the podcast. And the last 3 years, we have a warehouse, we have courses, and I feel like I'm actually a business owner now. It wasn't until like year
Aw.
11 that I felt like I was a business owner, which is hilarious. And I'm now, we're doing research, I'm getting my PhD, and we're really not only part of the organization industry, I am trying to raise awareness of the amount of work that a house entails and in every phase of life and how we can support women who are doing this and making visible the invisible work that is done at home, but also the invisible work that is done at school by teachers and the invisible work that is done at work by employees so that we can have better communication. So as I would hear that song pop up and I'd be like driving in and organizing a house, or I would be going and I was heavy into producing the new podcast, or like as I was taking on new parts of this company that I was growing without starting a new company, staying in the same company. That was the big key. I would be like, oh, this is what work looks like. Work looks like me traveling and packing up my car in the morning so that I have my lunch in there, dropping the kids off at 2 different schools, going and doing an organizing job, having my work with me in the car so I could do a little bit more work before I pick 2 more kids up. 3 years later, work looked like me primarily being at home so that I could orchestrate my organizers going out into different houses and really figuring out how do you teach organization through audio. That's never been
Mm,
done before. Like most organizers, if they have a podcast, you go watch their YouTube channel
right.
also. But no, I taught through audio before I created my courses because as a teacher, I know that if I create a video and you see me cleaning my kitchen or organizing my kitchen, you're saying to yourself, I wish I had new pots and pans. Well, if I had that much counter space, I could get organized too. Or what do I do if I have 18 children and she only has two? Like you're just comparing. But if you're listening in an audio, It's like a friend's just standing next to you while you're in your own kitchen. And so then I'm talking about pots and pans. You're only looking at your pots and pans. You're not looking at mine. You're
Yeah.
just looking at what you have. So as a teacher, I'm able to teach you through audio. That was huge. So that was that 9 to 5. Then the next 9 to 5 was, how do you have physical products? Like, how do you source them? Where do you store them? How do you do the taxes? Now we're hiring W-2 employees, and then we added on benefits. And like, this is what 9 to 5 is, not just my 9 to 5, but now I'm responsible for other people's 9 to 5. And then now 9 to 5, it's just like the tip of the iceberg. Like, that's just the thing you get paid for. But the work is every day, all day. And if you're doing what you're uniquely gifted and created to do, whether that is paid or unpaid, and you work towards everything being something that only you can do and that you bring light and life to, then work is all the time, but it never feels like work. And so 9 to 5 is like, yeah, like there's not a day I wake up where
Mhm.
I'm not like, let's go, let's take a shower. Let's Monday, Friday, Saturday, holidays, it doesn't matter. Every day there's work for me to do, and I'm ready to do that work, and I'm excited to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great too that like I'm thinking of the song and I'm thinking like I would hear it and feel excited too about like, okay, I'm gonna go open my computer. I'm gonna find out the episodes that I need to edit today. Like I could see myself getting really excited about work. And so I think how awesome. Okay, so this is two parts. So first of all, I think that you teach a lot of gratitude in your podcast, to be thankful for the things that we have and the stages that we're in and that kind of thing. So when you have that gratitude in your heart and then you have gratitude for the work that you're doing and then you hear this song, I don't think you can help but to be like
Right.
in a good mood and ready to, go get some work done. Whereas like if you don't like your job and you hear this song, I don't know, it
Yes.
might be a
You're like, I'm going
different
to put
might be a different
arsenic in the
dance.
thing. You really should go watch the movie because you will laugh. Remember, it's the 80s, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Did you ever dress up like Dolly Parton?
No, I never. Although, what is funny, at the end of the Embrace conference, so remember, I was wearing all these different costumes,
Mhm.
and there is a playlist. If you go to Spotify and you just do Embrace, I think it's 2022. Organized
Okay.
365. I have it public. That's the playlist that goes with Embrace. It starts with 9 to 5, and I do when I get in my car. I'm so over commercials. So when I get in my car, I only have 3 playlists, and that's one of them. So if I'm on a road trip, I always start listening to the Embrace podcast, and my brain wanders. But somewhere along the line, I thought it would be fun to get a sequin dress. And it's a stretchy sequin dress. It wasn't expensive. So I bought it. I tried it on. My husband's like, I love that dress, which means it's not appropriate to wear in public.
Okay.
so when I was doing the last Embrace that we did in 2022, I was like, you know what? It was the 5th time I did it. I was like, I'm going to pull together the best of the best. I've done this 4 times, like the best talks that I've given, the best songs, the best movie clips, the best everything. And I just started looking around at these costumes. I happen to have this maid costume. I happen to have this sequin dress. I had this bear head. I had all of this stuff. And so I was like, I'm just going to keep, every time I come back out, I'm going to wear something different. So I ended in that sequin dress. So if you buy Embrace, you'll see me in the sequin dress. I'm 51 and I do not work out at all, ever. So the dress, meh. But I wore it and I danced. I Hope You Dance is another song I really love, or Take Time to
Oh,
Dance.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
you are your worst critic. You see every bulge, you see
Mm.
everything. And what the women saw that were in person for that event, or see it through the replay, is they saw a middle-aged woman who is comfortable with herself and is going to just go ahead and dance. And if you want to dance, dance with me. And if this is not the dance you want to be in, go find somebody to dance, but dance. It doesn't have to be my way. It doesn't have to be me. I'm
Yeah.
not an expert at everything. I'm just giving you an example of someone who loves their life, gives themselves grace, is a person of excellence, not a perfectionist, and is going to go out there and dance. And yeah, I could lose 10 pounds. Who couldn't? But whatever. Even if I do, I'm going to lose it in the wrong places anyway. So whatever. Just, do your thing.
Oh my gosh. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else that you want to add about the song 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton?
No, music is such I have always loved music. I remember as a kid, I fell asleep to a clock radio. I could always sing the songs. I mentioned I have a
Mm.
little baby grandson, Grayson. He is almost 2. And I love Michael Jackson also. I thought about one of those songs for you. So
Hmm.
whenever I put Michael Jackson on, he asks for me to turn on the music, and he asks for Michael Jackson. And if you play anything else, he just looks at you like, this is not Michael Jackson. And he does not want any ballads either. He wants a beat. And then he taps his little foot, and you could tell that he's starting to sing. He also listens to Coco Melon, which apparently
Oh
is the
yeah.
latest
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So he will, as the song starts on Coco Melon, he'll start doing the motions, and he'll
Uh-huh.
start saying a couple of the words before the song. So he knows the songs before the songs come on. And I think that if you're a really musically inclined person, music really hits you in a way that nothing else can, and just cements memories and things into you. So I think this is just such a fun theme for a podcast. And I'm so grateful
Mm.
to have been a guest. Thank you.
Yes. Well, I knew I definitely wanted you on when I was listening to one of the recent episodes, and you were going on about how much music means to you
Yes.
and how you connect with it. And I was like, oh, this is a no brainer. I've got to reach out and just see, by an off chance. And lots of times, we talk about our missions and whatnot on these podcasts. And I think that that's what people love so much is they get to come on here and just kind of reminisce and,
Hmm.
share something just a little bit different than the norm. So I appreciate you taking the time for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course, I'm going to put the Embrace playlist in the show notes, you guys,
Great.
as well as, this song, 9 to 5, is going to be on the Memories of the Beat playlist on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. So definitely go check it out. And Podcast Land, I hope you enjoyed Lisa's memories and thoughts about this beat. Podcast Land, thank you so much for listening. If you had a few memories of your own pop up with this episode, make sure to take a screenshot, tag me on social, Tiffany Mason, or virtually you, and share those memories. I know y'all are listening, and I'd love to hear the memories you were reminded of with this song. Also, would you do me a favor and share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it? This is the best way you can help me to grow my audience. Can't wait to dive into my next guest's memories with a beat. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next episode.